Hello, and welcome to the Sacred Path podcast. I am your host, Priscilla Bernstein, the Soul Alignment Specialist. And in this podcast, we will literally be talking about all things of the soul journey. So, whether that be your spiritual path, sacred plant medicines, healing, transformation, sacred sexuality, divine union, soul alignment, manifestations, and so much more. We are literally covering it all, and we are going deep, 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 as well as far and wide. We are really going to be quantum jumping and helping you understand not only what it means to be living in your sovereignty and within your divine self, but what it means to actually live a life on purpose and a life of fulfillment while you are following your soul purpose and soul mission in this life. So get ready, buckle up, enjoy the episode, and we'll see you on the other side. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sacred Path podcast. I'm your host, Priscilla Bernstein, and happy 11/11. Today is always a beautiful day for manifestation, for creation, for setting new intentions and opening up a new beginning. This is our time at the end of the year as we have come off of a very uh, upsetting, for lack of a better term, result in the election. And this is really what I want to talk about today. Not only this 11/11 portal, but in that, just what I've received collectively and energetically via this election in the United States. So, one thing that has happened and that I have become very aware of, I've been getting a ton of downloads around this, is first and foremost that this election win was not of the divine. This was not divinely orchestrated. What I'm getting very clearly is that there is collusion and uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Some fuckery about in this because first and foremost, with the amount of votes and backing that Kamala had, with the amount of money that she raised, with the amount of celebrity endorsements, and the, I guess, just support that I clearly, and so many of us clearly saw in comparison to what was happening at the Cheetos rallies, right? And knowing that he didn't have the backing and the funding and the masses showing up for him, right? So first and foremost, that is something that was really off for me when I woke up and saw that. Another thing that happened the night that the election was closing on November 5th, I remember my stomach just getting progressively more and more unsettled. And what's so interesting is that I had equated it to something that I had eaten, but it progressively just got worse and worse and worse as the hours went on. It wasn't like something that felt like food poisoning. It wasn't something that felt like just gas or bloating, like upset stomach. It was definitely this energetic angst that through the collective, because I'm so tapped and tuned in and turned on, was feeling very, very strongly. And then waking up the next morning and feeling this, seeing the numbers and how staggering the numbers were, I was like, this isn't real. Like, this wasn't legit. There was collusion and there was some sort of setup. And collusion wasn't even a word that was coming to me until I started channeling my message from my guides and angels, the Sacred Seven. And through this, they brought that word through. And I had to look it up to be like, what does collusion actually even mean, right? And there are a bunch of things that the Cheeto said that were, very in the grand scheme of things, when you look back, red flags, right? Very much red flags. One, saying they didn't even need to vote, that he had it in the bag, that nobody needed to vote. Like, okay, that's weird. Secondly, that, um, you know, Elon Musk called it 4 hours before the votes were even counted. Okay, weird. When at the concession speech, him saying, well, I guess there's not going to be any, you know, any sort of fraud brought up. So, okay, I'll conclude this and concede. And I was like, wait, what? And so, as you may or may not know about me, I am not political at all. I am one that does my best to stay neutral. I do always vote, and I vote based on my value system, based on human decency, and based on, first and foremost, the greater good of the whole, not just the top 1%, right? And so this is something that, through my work over the last 5 years in particular, 6 years almost now, that I have been doing my best to be a witness, be a voyeur, and to see things from a higher perspective and turn things around and share them with you all, my tribe, from this place of love, to help you see, ultimately, like, the undercurrent of energy happening, the progression of where the energy is going, and give you a collective energetic update, as opposed to focusing so much on what is happening in the physical reality. Okay. And so, as I've done this, I've been somewhat quiet the last, year or so, on my social accounts, and I haven't been posting as much here as I had planned to in the beginning, but my guides keep pulling me back and asking me to be a witness, to just witness and receive, right? To just be in this kind of receptive mode. As I'm in this receptive mode, not only am I transforming and upgrading and receiving so much, but it's almost so much in the sense that, like, I don't know how to turn it around and share it all the time, right? So it's like I have to kind of sit with things and integrate them and allow them to, unlock further before I turn around and share things. And so I had recorded this episode and I accidentally erased it. And I just got from my guides very clearly, we need you to re-record this, and we need you to talk about some other things, some certain things. And I said, okay, that I hadn't discussed in the first one. So first and foremost, we are seeing and have seen, and this is a part that has been so disturbing to me, but yet so enlightening at the same time, is since the election results were called in the last week, seeing how much blatant racism, hatred, sexism, and misogyny has been just full force on display. And it's like, yeah, we all knew this was an undercurrent. We all knew this was very real still in our reality. We all knew this. Like, nobody was unaware of this. But at the same time, seeing the blatant just attacks and lack of respect, like, it it's like everybody feels like they just got this free pass to just be a fucking asshole, and to just, the amount of even African Americans that are receiving um, these texts saying things about, like, coming to be a slave on our plantation. Like, I'm sorry, what? Like, what? Like, what the actual fuck? Like, this has been so unbelievably not only sickening to me, but saddening at the same time. And so as I've sat with this over the last week, and to really feel the collective feminine rage that has been awoken within the divine feminine collective on not only the planet but in the United States. And I wholeheartedly just want to say, I'm getting goosebumps all over. I just want to say thank you so much to every woman outside of the United States that has said that they stand beside us, that has said that we have a safe space wherever you are. Wow, this energy of emotion just overcame me because this is a time in our collective history in the United States where it's one, not safe to be a woman of color. It is not safe to be LGBTQ. It is not safe to show up how you want in your truest authenticity for fear that some person will blatantly disrespect you or harm you now that this power has shifted. And so this is really what I want to speak to is the energy and the downloads that I have been receiving, the channel messages that I have been receiving about not only this election, but what is to come and what we have to look forward to. So, first and foremost, this was not legit. This was not a legit win. The amount of voters that didn't vote last time to this time, like the discrepancy is insurmountable. Like it is just insane the amount of Democrats that didn't vote in this election, which I don't believe to be true. The fires that got set to the ballot boxes in blue states, like these types of things, and then even the people that got caught, like voting for their tenants and stuff like that, and keeping their mail-in ballots and voting for them, like those types of things. I feel like a lot of that was happening, and this I don't even think was like so much physical things like that happening as what I'm receiving is it was some sort of like hack, like whether it was and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am not a conspiracy theorist, but like what I wholeheartedly woke up to was that downloaded message. Like, this was not legit. This was not real. This was not a real win. And the fact that the amount of reflection that I've gotten back over the last few days, and I'm trying not to watch a lot of it, to stay pure in what it is that I have been receiving. But first and foremost, the main message was this was not of the divine hand. This was not a divine orchestration. But what it has done is it has set off a domino effect, which we are about to and we are seeing play out in very real time. And so, with this domino effect, um, I personally, wholeheartedly, and what I received, feel like Kamala will take office and be Madam President. I was getting visions of this before the election, and I was holding that vision, and it wasn't even like I was actively trying to visualize it. Like it was just like flashing in my mind over and over again at the inauguration, it being her being sworn in as the 47th president. And so, what's so interesting here is that when I woke up to those results and I got that message, like this was not of the divine hand, but this is setting off a divine orchestration of events that needs to happen. And so, with that and following that, I got the message that the divine is at work and that confirmation, the light and the truth will prevail. We will see very clearly. Like, I've been talking about this for quite some time, not only in my cosmic newsletter, but in my email and, just through readings that I've done. Excuse me, I have to take a sip of water. But that there is, we have come to a time in our collective consciousness with as many awakenings that are happening, the waves of awakenings that are happening, that the truth is at the forefront because authenticity is the highest vibrational frequency in the multiverse. And it's even higher than unconditional love, authenticity. And so these people standing in their authentic truth of their beliefs, of their love, of who they love, of their beingness, right? Like the people that are owning and loving themselves and being their most authentic selves, who don't have this fear of hiding anymore, are there's this blatant fear mongering happening to keep us divided, to keep us in fear, and to keep us distracted so other things can go on that they think we will not pay attention to. But what they don't realize is that we are on a timeline where truth is being revealed at every level. There is no hiding it anymore. We're coming out of millennia of how power was held through fear or through some sort of like toxic manipulation, right? And we have come into via the age of Aquarius, and we've been in the age of Aquarius for quite some time now, but like we're peaking in the age of Aquarius right now. It's like a 3,000 year cycle. And so we're like peeking into the, like, it's like almost like we're coming into puberty, if you will, of the Aquarian age. And it's like our hormones are surging, like things are happening, we're developing, like we're coming into who we're needing to be. And that's what I mean by peaking. It's like we're having a really big growth spurt right now in this age of Aquarius timeline. And so with that being said, truth and authenticity are outshining everything. The veil has gotten thinner and thinner, and we're seeing the downfall of people who have not been living in authentic truth, who have been manipulating and misusing people. I mean, from people like Diddy to even people like the Cheeto, our last president, Um, but like I won't even say his name honestly because I don't want to give him any more energy, and words carry energy. So when we speak someone's name, that's giving them energy. No matter if it's good or bad, there's momentum that builds behind that, right? And so we're seeing all these celebrities having these like downfalls, if you will, based on their conduct, how they have treated people, how they have done business, right? It's like no one is gonna come out unscathed unless you've been on the up and up and have been doing what it is that you need to be doing, have been living your most authentic truth, not being shisty and trying to work one over on people and hurting people on your way to the top, right? Anybody that's been doing that, it's going to be called out. Anybody that's been doing that is going to be revealed. It's going to come to the surface. So, what I got very clearly, especially for all of you divine feminines out there, is to hold steady to the vision of the future that you want, to not focus on what is happening in physical reality right now as truth, because this is not the truth, okay? And this is just, it's like, it's almost as if we're in a simulation, right? What I'm seeing, it's like, it's almost as if we're in a simulation, and this simulation is showing us one timeline that if we all are saying we're on board with, will continue. But for those of us that know, wait, something's not right here, and the mass, I think, the mass of the collective, like the majority of the collective, know something is not right here. Whether you live in the United States or not, the math ain't mathin'. the things aren't equating, the dots are not connecting, right? It's just like this, no, there is something amiss here. And more as the days go by, I'm hearing more and more people reflect this back, and it just makes my heart feel so much better about what it is that I have received, because in the grand scheme of things, it's like this isn't this isn't real. And so like when I remember the first time he got elected in 2016, I cried. I was deeply saddened. I was angry. There was a lot of emotions that happened. And this time, didn't even watch it that night because I was like, I can't. It's going to make me like anxious. And I wasn't anxious to begin with, but my stomach started to hurt. And it started to progressively get more and more upset and bloated and gassy. And it was just like so uncomfortable. But it was like, it was almost as if a hurricane was happening in my stomach, but like nothing else was going on, right? Like I wasn't needing to go to the bathroom or throw up, or I wasn't nauseous. It was just like deep discomfort. And it was a collective discomfort, right? That I was picking up on, even though I wasn't paying attention to it. And like I said, I was eerily calm and very grounded through the whole thing. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, I don't even want to look, but I'm going to look. And I've even heard this. A lot of people woke up in the middle of the night, like 3 or 4 in the morning, and just like had a really uneasy feeling, right? And so that happened to me as well. I woke up in the middle of the night, didn't know exactly why. I wake up a lot in the middle of the night around that time, but I'm usually receiving stuff. And I just got in that time while I was awake, just like something's off. And I feel like we're going to see this play out in the way that we're not expecting. And sure enough, I wake up the next morning and I didn't really want to look at my phone, but I looked at my phone and it was like this eerie calm. And I saw it and I was just like, I kind of knew this was going to happen, but at the same time, I had expected to wake up and see that it was Kamala, that it was Harris that had won. And just based on the amount of money she raised, the amount of people she had backing her, the amount of people at her rallies and the excitement behind her, I was like, there's no way. Like, maybe it'll be close, but she's definitely going to win. And it was really difficult for me. And like I said, I'm not political, but I've had to really sit with the idea of those people in my life that I know voted red. And it's not even about the politics, it's about the morals, it's about somebody's character, it's about, for me, the greater good of the whole. And I feel like Harris had the right message and the right momentum about uniting us, about coming together, about working for the middle class, about really helping everybody come up, as opposed to, you know, there was no plan on the other side. There was no real tangible things that were ever said that anybody could hold on to. He had stepped into a economy that was already built up from Obama and led that, and said that it was the greatest economy, but yet he had the most amount of unemployment. The economy tanked. And so when Biden came in, it was unfortunately taking on a tanking economy. And that's what people aren't seeing. And so when people say, like, oh, we're going to have a strong economy again, it's like, no, like Obama built that and he stepped in and took it over and then tanked it. And, like somehow people miss that connection to how things are, you know, within a term and how they're leaving it for the next president. And so I don't know exactly how this can or will happen, but like I said, I really wholeheartedly feel like Harris is going to be our next president. And what's so interesting about this is not only was I getting that, but I've seen a lot of other astrologers talk about this. And it's just re-edifying and solidifying the things that I have received and acknowledged, and to have and see multiple people reflecting this outwardly and sharing this. It really is this, I never like to use the word hope, but it really is this moment of like, yes, we are writing the same collective consciousness. Those of us that are open, that are receiving, that are seeing what the truth is, can see it is very different from what is playing out right now. And so that is why it is so important for us, because it is 11:11 today and we have a full moon in Taurus on the 15th. During this time, this like 5 day period, this is going to be a really beautiful time for you to sit down, for you to manifest, for you to envision and visualize not only the future that you want, but the future that you want to see the collective world in. And as we do this together, where two or more people are sharing a vision, the vibrational frequency on the quantum field gets stronger and stronger and helps anchor it in. And so if all of us, if all of you listening are anchored into this energy of visualizing the future that you know to be true coming into fruition, chances are it will support the truth revealing itself. And whatever this game of Tetris that is about to happen, for things to fall into place, is going to happen, because the dominoes, and it's funny that they're making all these game references, but it's like the dominoes have been like, that domino effect has started. And so not only are we about to see, I mean, for lack of a better term, the pot to get stirred, but it's like, get your popcorn, because shit might just hit the fan. And we might see a whole hell of a lot play out and it get a lot worse before it gets better. But it's funny because a term is 4 years, but what I keep getting from my guidance is 3 years. So over the next 3 years, we're going to see a lot moving. And I got a message this morning talking about the massive shift, not only in consciousness that's needed right now, but this massive shift in the collective that is happening. There's an undercurrent of revolution energy happening right now, and that's been building for the last like 18 months or so. So when I talk about the divine feminine rage has been awoken, we've been in this divine feminine uprising for quite some time now. For the last, starting kind of with this Me Too movement, it's like these waves have been happening, and it's really kicked up a notch. I mean, honestly, this has been going on since, the 60s and 70s, right? When we first came into the age of Aquarius, we've had to fight. We've had to, you know, fight for our rights. We've had to fight for our rights for our body, to get paid what men get paid. We've had to fight to be in positions of power, right? Like, my mom was crying the other day when the um, election results came out. And my brother was like, don't cry, like, da 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 da, like, was just trying to, like, kind of cheer her up and move her out of that. I said, don't disregard her emotions right now, because it was in her era that they were fighting for Roe v. Wade, for a right. Like, they're part of our ancestral line of women, the divine feminine, that has been fighting for our rights. And to see that get overturned and to see the amount of death that has happened that hasn't needed to, and the amount of like almost belittling and childishness that has come with it, like, oh, you can tell on people and you can rat them out and we'll pay you, and then we're gonna keep these you know, what do you call it, like, I guess just like a database of how you're moving and what you're doing. And, I mean, it is so bizarre that it's like I just keep going back to like 1984 and I wanted to say Animal House, Animal Farm, George Orwell's Animal Farm, and 1984, and like even Slaughterhouse-Five, right? Like the banning books and like the amount of oppression that these zealots and misogynists and the toxic patriarchy are trying to continue to instill and continue to force from this place of not understanding the greater good of all, not understanding that times are changing, not like it's almost archaic, the amount of things that are happening right now. And so, what my guides have equated this to, and I'm hoping that this will bring you all a little bit of comfort, but ultimately, what they're showing me is like, in order for a slingshot to be shot off and to have that quantum jump, so often we have to be pulled back into the past, right? We have to go backwards before we go forward, before we can launch forwards. It's like as if you need a running start. You have to go back and like get that space in between you to have that running start to take that leap over that gap or whatever, right? So that's what's happening right now. And that's why it seems like it's like, oh my God, how are we going back in time? Like, how is this happening again? How are we like being pulled back into like the dark ages, right? Like, it's so scary, but at the same time, it's like spirits wanting you to look at this as we're being pulled back into the slingshot, and then we're literally going to get released and we're going to hyper like quantum jump into a new timeline that it's like, oh, okay, good, we're out of that and there's no way we're going to go back there. And so, in speaking about this, something that's really interesting, and I've had this vision and this download for quite some time, this message from my guides, but I remember asking, like, what is my purpose? And they showed me myself standing on a mountaintop holding a light, and there were millions of people below me in the valley. And I was like, nope, absolutely not. I don't want it. Too much responsibility. No, thank you. And I held it at an arm's length for about 4 years before I asked again, what is my purpose? And of course, I got the exact same vision, and I was like, fuck, it hasn't changed. Okay. And so in that moment, I said, okay, I surrender and I adhere and say yes. I concede to my purpose. And as soon as I said yes, as soon as I surrendered and claimed it, I wasn't holding a light anymore. I became the light. And my dress was white and like chiffony and was like blowing all around me. And it's like I became this like force to be reckoned with, right? I became the light and this like this messenger for all the people that were in the valley, the millions of people that were in the valley below me. And I've been told on so many occasions, you're not just going to be talking to and helping millions of people, but your legacy, you are going to have and be written about for millennia to come. you and your family that you're going to have, the children you're going to have, are here to make a massive imprint and difference. And I remember in the beginning when I first got this message, my guides told me, you will be in this quote unquote new world order, and you will be a leader in the new world. You will be leading millions, if not billions, of people. And I said, what? Like, how? How is that going to happen? Because I'm not political. I'm not in any way, shape, or form wanting to be in the political specter. Like, how? And they were like, don't worry. You don't need to worry about the how now, but just know the foundational structures of quote unquote government and how the like rule of the land goes is all transforming and changing. Literally every structural foundation we have in place now in society is undergoing a crumbling or tower effect to be rebuilt, to work for the greater good of all, to work for humanity and bringing humanity back into a state of harmony and balance, back into quote unquote divine union. And if you know anything about the twin flame journey, the twin flames' love for one another is actually anchoring in this unconditional love for the planet to help it rise into this higher frequency. Okay. And so you're seeing more and more twin flames come into union in the physical reality. And as they come into union, that love is just rippling out, is just like sonar, like off of each of them and wherever they are in the world. It's rippling out and becoming stronger and stronger and anchoring in these new earth frequencies. And the new earth frequencies are very high vibration. They are in alignment with truth. They are in alignment with authenticity. So that is why no matter what is playing out right now, if it is not in alignment with truth and authenticity, it is going to crumble. It is going to be seen for what it is, and the truth and the light will prevail. Okay? So I hope that in and of itself helps to bring you a little bit of peace of mind, and peace of spirit for what's playing out. Okay. And so when I got this message and they told me this, like, you're going to be on the world stage and you're going to be leading the masses. And I was like, I don't understand how this is happening. When I lost my dog last summer, it not only shattered me, and I know a lot of you guys have already heard this story because I've talked about it a lot, but I took almost a year off completely from social media, from posting, from my clients, and just healed myself. And I had to do a lot of deconstructing. I had to do a lot of filtering through all the versions of myself that I had to be to survive in the world, right? And so many of us are going through, I wouldn't even describe it as a dark night of the soul because it didn't feel that dark to me, but it was a lot of deconstruction. I was learning a lot, I was deconstructing a lot, I was filtering a lot, and it was like all happening all simultaneously. So it was just a lot. I was just in it, right? And I was just fully and wholeheartedly like immersed in what I was going through. And I was just allowing myself to have that time and space to go through it and not have to serve and give outwardly. I was just taking care of myself and giving to myself and supporting myself with this unconditional love to find divine union within, and not giving outside of myself or pouring out of my cup, because it was like I was in this form of like taking this shattered porcelain and putting it back together with gold to make it stronger. But in doing so, I was in that rebuild stage, right? Like I was, ikigai. I was redoing and sealing all of these cracks with gold and making myself stronger through that process. So, in doing that, I went on, after she passed and I got her ashes back, I went on a 6-week road trip. I went back up to Montana, and went to all of our favorite spots that we had been to spread some of her ashes and to honor her and our time, you know, on our travels and where we had been and where we had lived. And I also did this as a test for my other dog, Diego, to just make sure that he would be good on his own while we're on the road and that I didn't need to get another dog for him, that he was like solid, just companion solo dog. Because I wasn't ready for that to like take on another pet. So, he was great and we just had a beautiful time. But at the end of it, I ended up staying with my second cousin and her husband. And because I was on a road trip, she knew that I had been moving around a lot. Like I didn't stay in the same place for more than 5 days, before I was like on the move again. And so, um, and it was like over a 2,000-mile trip, right? So, in that 6 weeks, there was a lot of moving around. There was a lot of people that I saw, a lot of friends that I spent time with. And who held me and supported me and loved me. And I was so appreciative of that. But while I was at her house, she was just like, stay as long as you want. She was like, you cannot leave here before a week. Like you have to stay at least 7 days, but I want you to stay longer if that's what you want to do. I wholeheartedly like love you and just want you to rest and I want to take care of you. And I said, oh, thank you so much, Hannah. I love you so much. And while I was in her pool one day, and it was about a week like in, I was listening to something on Mary Magdalene, and all of a sudden I just got this major download, and I had to take out my headphones, and I just heard, you are now being initiated into the Order of the Rose, into being an initiate of Mary Magdalene. And I said, okay, well, what do I have to do? And they said, just listen to this and it is done. And I was like, okay, no big deal, right? Well, it didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but over the last year and a half or so, maybe about 15 months, I've been working very closely with Mary Magdalene, with her energy, with her divine protection, with her codes or codices, and I've been teaching them, working through embodiment, sacred sexuality, working on divine union energies within myself to help bring me and my partner into divine union, into physical reality. And it's been not a struggle, but it's been a lot of work. And we just finished our 4-month journey, the sacred feminine, and the women that I had in this, it was probably the biggest container I've run to date. It's because it was a 4-month long journey and we met pretty consistently throughout those 4 months. If it wasn't every other week, it was every week that we were meeting. And so there was a lot of synergy happening and a lot of transformation happening, a lot of information being shared, right? Each week. And then we had other people, other divine feminines who were in their power and on their purpose, within their purpose, working within their purpose, coming in to share their divine gifts with these women. And it was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful um and kind of all encompassing 4-month journey. But in that, not only did I learn a lot, but I think they learned a lot, and I got even closer to Mary Magdalene. And so over the like 24 to 48 hours within the election, I got like really the next day that the results were said on November 6th, I got this major download and channel message then about like, and just like projected vision was what I was being shown for myself of like how I'm going to be stepping into this role of leadership on this new world stage. And I was like, oh, it's like the domino effect, right? It's like, oh, now that this has happened, I can see all the dots connecting for how I could get there. Okay. And I was also being given all of these, it was almost like folders of information, if you will. It looks more like those glass, what do they call them? Slides that go in the microscope when they're all stacked together, like in their little holder. It kind of looks more like that, but it's like a system of information, right? And they look like these glass slides in there. And it's like our crystalline grid, our coding, right? Like that's what they were showing me. It's like all of those, like I could see all of the interconnectedness between what is happening now, and it's like all these different files of information were being shown to me of like, this is the stack of files of like, and it was almost like I could see these, it's hard to describe this because you're not visually seeing it with me, but it was like when you think about files and the information that they have in them, if you're going to go through the files, they all are threaded, right? They all have a thread that links them to where they all make sense to each other, right? And so it's kind of that same thing. So they're showing me this um like kind of a glass slide thing, and it was like, oh, okay, this is the coding, these are the dominoes that are going to fall, this is the thread ultimately. And I could see these like little tidbits of each slide, each glass slide, and the thread that connected it all. And that's what I was being shown, and I was like, oh, okay, I can see why I'm being called into, why I was called into the Order of Mary Magdalene, why the Morrigan has been asking to work with me, why Hecate came in and was like, you're working with me now. And I've been working with all of these goddesses and Lilith, right? These are the kind of like dark goddesses, and they're not quote unquote dark or evil in any way, shape, or form. But what they are these goddesses that you cannot fuck with. They're the goddesses that have integrated their light and dark, their shadow and their light. They understand the underworld, they understand the darkness, and they help you understand your darkness so you can live in your light and integrate your darkness to turn that into light, to be the alchemist in your life. And so I've been working with these goddesses for quite some time. Mary Magdalene's the newest one, or actually the Morrigan is the newest one, because she's just started to come to me very profoundly over the last couple months. And I'm like, who is the Morrigan? Like, I need to research her. I need to understand this a little bit more. And as I've like dove into her and who she is, again, these are like goddesses of the underworld, goddesses of war, goddesses of integration and divine protection. And they were all gravely misunderstood. And even Mary Magdalene, she was coined a prostitute. She was coined, Jesus's like lover, and it was just like, no, she was actually his divine counterpart. She was his most trusted confidant, and they were whole separately, but when they came together, it was like power couple. She was a healer in her own right. She knew and like was this beautiful um holder of divine knowledge. She taught Jesus a lot about healing, about integrating, about alchemy. And he taught her and shared with her the truth of the gospel, which is, well, God is within you. It's nothing outside of yourself. You're never supposed to give your power away, but you have to understand your own ability to anchor your God self in and project that outwardly and utilize that divine spark outwardly in the world, right? And when this was told from her after Jesus died and was resurrected to the other apostles, they could not fathom or understand that Jesus would have told her that and not told them the same thing. So she was ostracized, and they wanted to kill her, and she had to flee for her life and went to France to teach her Gnostic gospel there. And so, what's so interesting about this, about being brought into this order and understanding, is I've been sharing this message for quite some time around the dogma and the toxicity and the division that happens through religion. And I'm not bashing religion here. I want to be very clear. That is not what I'm doing. I am not one to bash anybody's beliefs. I am not one to judge. But I will say, after studying world religion in college, which it fascinated me, and I was fascinated at a very young age with going to a private school, going to church every morning, before classes, and it being this part of our routine. I loved the ritual of it. I was so insanely aware of like the beauty and everything that was involved in it, and how um I just love the ritual of it. But even at a young age, I could tell something's missing, something's off. And I couldn't ever grasp it. I never knew what it was. It wasn't until I was in my 20s that I went into uh, an immersive or intensive yoga teacher training, and I started to learn more about the Yoga Sutras and the eight limbs of yoga and the teachings, not the asana. Like the asana is one thing, the postures are one thing, but the actual teachings of yoga. And when I started to hear that something rings in your body, in your soul as truth. And it's like the most harmonic frequency resonance that just is like right. You know it at the core of your being. You feel that in your soul. Oh, this is truth. And so pay attention when you feel that resonance to something. You're like, wait, that was true. Hold on, hold on. And that just shattered everything that I've ever been taught. Wait, hold on. And it teaches you to question. So spirituality is that. It's broad, it's expansive. It teaches you to question, and it teaches you to look within, to understand and to feel what it is that you're receiving, to not take everything at face value, to not hear and just like regurgitate the dogma that's being fed to you through some pastor or through the Bible. The Bible has been misinterpreted and misconstrued and bastardized and spun in all these different ways to spread these messages of division, of hate, of repression. And it's like, wait, 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 wait. If Jesus was all love and said, love thy neighbor as yourself, and lest ye not judge, like, I'm sorry, why are you guys so judgy? Why are you guys beating and bashing and rampaging and having this like unnecessary violence against your neighbors just because they don't fit into the mold of who you think they need to be, right? Like, question the things that you're receiving. And through religion, again, I'm not bashing religion. If you are a Christian or a Catholic or a Jew, whatever your religious background is or what you adhere to, I understand the necessity and need to have this anchor to something greater than ourselves, to understand things and to understand that we're not alone, right? But when you look in my studies of doing world's religion in college, because I was so fascinated with it, I saw this thread that went through all the different religions, and I'm like, wait, the thread is the same. There's one similar message that goes through all of them, but everybody has tweaked it to work for them in their time of when that religion was created. And I mean, there's some wackadoodle stuff out there that some religions are really, 100% connected to. And I'm like, okay, that makes no sense. And like, again, why would you just take all this as the truth and never question, like, what, like, how does any of this make sense? Like, but okay, fine, no big deal. Like, I'm not going to sit here and judge you for what your beliefs are, and this episode may be pissing you off as I'm talking about it, but I urge you and invite you to stay and listen, because I'm going to come full circle here. But ultimately, what I want to say with this is, when you look at the religions and when you look at how they were built and how they were made to work and function for the time and day and age and the people that they were created for, there are so many different types of Christianity. Who's to say that that one is the right one, right? Like the amount of wars and death that has happened based on religion itself and what we're coming to in this country. And this is the argument I had with a friend of mine recently, where I was like, I'm sorry, the whole idea of the United States being created was to separate church and state, period. And now we're coming back full circle to a theological society where we're ruled by what the Bible says and what is, religiously just and right. And it's like, no, 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 no. These need to be separate. Like, that's why the United States was created. And that's why, we left and had this revolution against England to have our right to believe and to live how we wanted to, no matter what we believed in. That's what the United States was founded on, right? And to come back and like have be seen, it feels very archaic. It feels like the fucking dark ages to see the all these things being reversed and this like religious kind of wave coming out, and it's just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. Stop the presses. Like, give me a second. Hold on. So, when we really look at things from a spiritual standpoint, when you have your spiritual awakening, and more than likely, if you're listening to my podcast, you already know my stance on these things. You already understand me usually as a person, if you've been following me for a while. But at the same time, when we talk about spirituality, if you've had a spiritual awakening, there's a massive deconstruction when it comes to your religious upbringing if you were raised in a religious family. And one of the gals in my 4-month journey, the Sacred Feminine, that was part of her awakening. And the fact that she is LGBTQ, you know, she had to deconstruct everything she had been taught, and this is part of what she was working through, was this reconstruction of self, reconstruction of her authenticity, of understanding who she came here to be and reclaiming that. That's the whole point of this Sacred Feminine 4-month journey. And we're going to be going into it again in February. If you're interested, we're still in pre-sale and the price goes up at the end of the month. But I would love for you guys to be a part of this if it's in the cards for you financially. And I have a bunch of payment plans. But ultimately, it's like we're healing all the wounding, whether it's your witch wounding, your mother-father wound, your inner child wounds, any trauma that you've gone through, the shadow work. We're going through all of it, and then we're coming out on the other side and doing, you know, manifestation techniques. We're doing embodiment practices. We're doing breath work. You have light language activations. There's a lot happening in there to help get you back into your most authentic self and to reclaim who you are, your power as a divine feminine on the planet at this time, because that is the awakening that's happening. So as we've come into these waves of the divine feminine uprising since in the last week. I mean, we've already seen this kind of playing out in waves, but in the last week, seeing the amount of disregard, hatred, and um, power hungry misogyny and like racism and, you know, I guess just oppression that men want over women, it is so sickening and so gross and has just like deeply saddened my heart for how blatant this hatred is. But in the same breath, seeing the amount of women who are, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like this underground movement starting to happen, and you're seeing these women and these leaders. Spirit has shown me this like on a chessboard. It's like everybody's um, moving into place, and I Spirit keeps showing me the Terminator, right? It's like if you've seen any of the Terminator movies, you know there's this like revolution happening and they need to fight. And so it's like there's an underground network that gets formed in order to come together, to collaborate, to create, to build. And we're just like, I mean, it is happening in real time, rapid fire. Not only the amount of, like, we saw this even with Kamala, the amount of people that came together to support her. I mean, it was like boom, 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 boom. Whether it was the gays, whether it was the blacks, whether it was the whites, whether it was, you know, the white males for Kamala. Like, I mean, it was just like everybody came together, and I'm like blanking on the word that I need, but it's like this like massive collaboration, but it's like an underground network, you know, and you can see it happening in real time, like just rapid fire, like all the connection happening. And so you're seeing this now. And I just saw yesterday on TikTok a girl say, well, I just quit my job and I am starting this, you know, website and app for us to connect as women to help, you know, build each other up. And I was just like, wow, that was amazing. Like, she's a coder, she knows what she's doing. And like, literally, it'll be like rolling out next week, you know, like we cannot have the amount of change that we need to have, and we cannot see this drastic structural restructuring, foundational restructuring happening at a rapid pace if there is no chaos. And what has just happened is the chaotic or chaos trigger that needed to happen to set off those dominoes, right? And again, spirits chiming in to say, just know this was not divinely orchestrated, but there is a bigger plan at work. And so when that happened, the divine made sure to kick that domino, that first domino to get things moving. Okay. So the election wasn't divine. No, sir. No, ma'am. Uh-uh. That was not legit. That was not divine orchestration. And anybody that tells you it was is flat out bullshitting you. But what was divine was the domino effects that got knocked from there. And so, what I'm really feeling and what I've been receiving is not only for us to envision the outcome and the future and the reality that we want to see, to do that within these next like week to 2 weeks and hold that vision very strong, but to live as if that's happening. Don't engage in all the hubbub about like, oh, like this is terrible, like don't get caught up in the circumstance of like the world coming to an end, because there is going to be so much rapid revolutionary energy that's building underneath this. It's that I'm this is what I'm saying, that like rapid fire connection and underground network type thing that's happening. And it came through the other day in a message to like move in silence. Like you can communicate and you can talk and you can reach out to your people and like put little pulses out, but don't go in with this warrior war cry to let everybody know what you're doing. It's like you connect and then you work in silence. And what is going to come, and this is when I said like get your popcorn ready and like get ready for shit to hit the fan. This revolutionary energy, like I'm just about to do a post on this on Instagram, where I saw this beautiful artwork that somebody did. And it's all these women standing in front of a bear. And it says, "We are the bear." And it's like, yes, I'm getting goosebumps again. And really, that's it. It's like when that whole idea of, and that like trend of like, would you choose the male or would you choose the bear? And so many women were like, I would choose the bear. Right. And so, um, even talking about the 4B movement, we did a talk on this in with Sacred Sexuality in my feminist media club. And what was so great about this is learning more about the 4B movement. And I'm not like hardcore advocate for that, that started in South Korea, and they're actually the most extreme about it, but the trickle effect that it's had around the globe is actually like, you know, shifting your idea of like needing the male's attention and like taking care of yourself and honoring your wants, needs, and desires, and being more selective in who it is that you do choose to engage with, whether it's, emotionally and physically or sexually. So it goes into that kind of sacred sexuality. And I am a big proponent for conscious celibacy and taking times of celibacy to really focus on yourself and not make it about sex and the guy or, your partner, whoever that is, maybe you're LGBTQ, right? It's like it doesn't matter about the quote unquote sex. And I've heard so many people say, well, I can't live without that. It's like, well, you can, but it's like a muscle that you have to, work and strengthen, because when we're so connected to somebody else needing to get us off or to bring us pleasure, again, we're like giving some of our power away in that. And I mean, honestly, sex can be the most beautiful, most powerful, and such an amazing experience to bring you the closest that you can get to a God state. But at the same time, that really only comes when you're in a conscious relationship, when you both have deeply met yourselves and can meet one another really deeply, and are choosing to consciously go there or to open up and be vulnerable enough to get to that heightened state. Okay. So sacred sexuality is a huge part of this, but like in order to get to that place, I am a big proponent for people taking bouts of conscious celibacy to really focus on themselves, to really understand and harness their own prana, their own sexual energy, which is their life force energy, and understand how to not only manipulate that, but to build that, and not only build that within yourself, but to learn how to um, direct that energy not only into creation and manifestation, but when you are in sexual, intercourse with somebody or an exchange with somebody, you're exchanging soul matter at that moment, right? And so when you're both at this level of having that time of deep introspection, of focusing on your sexual health and your sexual energy, aka your prana or life force energy, when you come together, that is 1,000 times more powerful than it would have been had you just been sleeping around with a bunch of other people, before you met them. So that's why I'm a proponent for that. Not only because it's really healthy for you energetically, but it also creates this, mastery within yourself of your own power, your own sovereignty, your own synergy to create in the physical reality, whether that's with somebody or on your own. So this is a very long and extensive podcast episode, but I know we went in a lot of different directions, but at the same time, I feel like it was all necessary because I've been getting so much information. And like I said, I've sat with this for a few days to make sure to like integrate and embody all of the information that I've been receiving to bring it through and channel it for you guys in a way that it's like, I'm seeing kind of like a yantra or this like sacred geometry of how everything is interconnected, right? It's like spirits wanting you to see how this is all woven together. And so coming full circle of like why I've been led down the path that I've been led, and who I'm working with these goddesses, and it's like with the results that have happened, the divine feminine rage, that dark feminine energy has been awoken, and she is pissed. She is pissed. And I think collectively as women, as spiritual women, we are seeing in real time this collective rage be awoken within us to say, I don't think so. I'm not okay with this. I'm not just going to bow down and say, okay, take all my rights. Do what you want with my body. Let me be your servant or your slave. Like, I live to serve you. Fuck no. None of us are saying that. I mean, there's the whole tradwife movement, and that's great, you know, like again, no judgment. I am so excited to be in divine union and to have my masculine take care of me. But at the same time, it's like I am still very much my own independent person. I like space. He likes space. We like our own time, you know, and I think that's something that we will understand about one another. But at the same time, you shouldn't have to rely on someone to serve you in those ways, right? Like unless that is your deal that you've worked out with your counterpart and you're happy with that, right? Like if that's your choice, that's your choice. Again, zero judgment. But what I am saying is, for the most part, the majority of women and this divine feminine rage that has been awoken, the divine feminine uprising and these divine goddesses that have been misunderstood for so long, for millennia, are now awakening all of us. And so if you're getting that call to work with Hecate, if you're getting that call to work with Lilith, if you're getting the call to work with Kalima, if you're getting that call to work with the Morrigan, or if you're getting that call to work with Mary Magdalene, answer the call. Answer the call. And you'll know because they'll start coming into your field, and you'll see it on TikTok. You'll see something on Instagram. You'll hear somebody talk about it. You'll walk into a bookstore and you'll see a book on them. Whoever it is, you will know that they are calling out to work with you, that they are calling you forth and invocating you to work with them, to call upon them to help support you in what you're doing. You will know because they will make themselves known. And so when you get those calls, if you get those calls, please listen. Please heed those calls. Please allow yourself to be indoctrinated and invoked into their order or whatever their scope of work is. Learn about them. Dive into who they are. Research them. Don't just take one article at face value. Listen to an audiobook on them. Listen to somebody that's researched them extensively talk about how they've been misunderstood and what they actually stand for. Because when you do this, you get to understand so much more about them, and you will see how and why they are calling to work with you. Why they are saying, hey, I am here for your support. You can invoke me at any time. But just know when you're working with these powerful goddesses, and this is not to say if you are one that works with God or the universe, source energy, this isn't like multi gods. Like that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you need to worship them, but when you're working with them, you can still work with them and be connected to source energy. I myself, being a quote unquote, I've really jumped in with both feet and have reclaimed this word witch, which has gotten so much bad press over the years and has been dubbed evil. But it's like, I'm a good witch. I love working with energy. It is what I do. Everything I do is based in the quantum field. Everything. Whether it's spell work, whether it's manifestation, whether it's teaching, channeling. I'm plugged into source, to spirit, the spirit realm, to I work with gods and goddesses, from mythology and, from all different walks of life. I work with alien beings, with star seeds, with other star groups. Like, I'm a multi-channel conduit, but I am still working of the light. I am here to raise the collective consciousness. I am here to wake you up to remember who the fuck you are as a soul, as an essence, as somebody that can and will and needs to reclaim their power and sovereignty. That is what I'm here to do. That is the message that I'm spreading. That is my mission and my purpose. And so, whatever it is that I'm here to teach, albeit through the Gnostic gospel and Mary Magdalene, through sacred sexuality, through embodiment practices, through healing your trauma, through manifestation, through how to become the most powerful version of yourself by learning how to tap into your abilities, whether it's your clair abilities, telepathy, your intuition, all of that stuff, or divination, whatever it is. I run the gambit. I've got a whole slew of like restaurants that you can choose from when it comes to working with me. What do you feel like today? Oh, you want to go there? Let's do this. Oh, you want to dive in here? Let's set you up over here. Whether it's Akashic record reading, energy clearings, home clearings, I do it all. I do it all. Tarot readings, like I'm all about it. And it's what it is. They're all just tools. They're all just resources, but I am working of the light. And part of my path, talking about these goddesses, these dark feminine goddesses, part of my path in the beginning was dealing with the shadow. And my set of guides named themselves Leviathan. And I was scared at first when they told me that. And I looked up who Leviathan was and I was like, who am I working with? I'm really scared here. And they were like, no, we're of the light, but we are here to help you see not only your shadow, but the shadow in other people. You have to understand the shadow before you can spread the light. And it needs to be this like the ellipses, right? The infinity symbol. It's like you need to go into the depths so you can come out and share what you've learned, and then go into the depths and then come out and share what you learned. And I'm just going through as like an ellipses, like going into the depths and the darkest waters, right? And then coming out into the light and sharing that, and then going back in and then coming up and sharing that. And it's like this symbiotic thing. And so, what I talked about with those dark feminine goddesses at the beginning was they've been deeply misunderstood, but at the same time, they are the alchemists that understand the shadow, that understand the darkness, that will show you not only the darkness of the world and the darkness of who you are, because you have both aspects in you too, my friend. We live in a world of equal and opposites, and there's a balance, the perfect balance, the yin and the yang, the dark and the light, right? All of that resides within each of us. And so they take you into the depths and they show you the darkness. They show you your shadows, and then they bring you up and they help you integrate your shadow to bring it into light, to make your mess your message, to bring you into your power, to help you reclaim your sovereignty. And that is my mission. And so, working with and embodying the dark feminine, we are here as a collective right now. And this is a scary time, but yet such a beautiful time to be alive because we are seeing everything play out in real time very, very, very quickly. And I wholeheartedly hope that this podcast episode not only helped to bring you some clarity, but helped you see things from a higher perspective, helped you give a little bit more broadening in what it is that you're seeing and how it is that you can continue to move forward from this place of knowing your power that you have in helping anchor in this new timeline through your visualization of the reality that you want, of that new timeline that you want to see play out. So the more of us that do this, the more of us that anchor in, the more of us that visualize this over the next couple weeks, the easier it'll be to timeline jump and to come into um, this new state of reality. And so with all that being said, I am going to be running a happy hour on my Patreon. It will be free and open to everyone that signs up. You do have to become a member of my Patreon, but you can be a free member. And it usually my happy hours are paid members only, but this is such a big cause that I felt very called to just make this open to everybody. And so this is going to be on the full moon on the 15th. And let me just see what day that is. Um, Friday the 15th. So I will be putting that in the show notes, but it will also be on my Patreon. And it's just patreon.com/Priscilla Bernstein. It's linked in my bio on my Instagram or my bio on TikTok if you want to go look at that. And then you can also link to it from my website at the bottom right-hand corner on the little icons. There's a Patreon icon that looks like a P, a little bubble P. So if you would like to be a part of that, we're going to be doing a group energy clearing, which I think is highly necessary right now, just to clear the energy of the angst, the grief, the sadness, the heaviness that so many divine feminines are feeling. And if you are a divine masculine listening to this, I just want to say thank you so much, not only for your support, but for you holding and supporting and standing beside and behind your divine feminine women in your life. For those of you that voted for Kamala, that voted for the human decency and voted for women to have their rights of their own body, I honor you. I see you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a support and an ally for us women, because I know there's a lot of you out there, and I just am so proud of you for stepping up and standing beside us and fighting with us, because this is going to be a fight, but I just want all of you to know this is not over. So do not give up hope. Do not give up. Hope is so empty, and I don't want to say that. Do not give up your desired reality. Do not give up that vision of what it is that you want. Do not give up and allow yourself to fold and concede, because this is not over. You are being called forth. You are being called up and out to move into your place. And whether that is through your power, your sovereignty, through leadership, through utilizing your voice, through sharing what you're receiving, sharing some sort of message, making posts about things, sharing other people's artwork, reposting stuff, whatever it is, you are being asked to step in and step up to whatever it is that you're feeling called to do right now. Whether that's orchestrating a group, whether that is joining a group and being a part of something bigger than yourself. I know a lot of people are wearing and getting blue bracelets to show women of color, hey, I am safe. You can come here. I am an ally. Maybe even wearing, I've seen girls and guys who have are flying their rainbow flags outside their homes, who are doing rainbow little flags or makeup, like to let people know, like, I'm an ally for you. You are safe with me, right? And so there's all these little things that are happening. So whatever you're feeling called to do, to move into place, to be an ally, to be a support, to let people know that you're not giving up, that you are not conceding to what the quote unquote um, results are, and that you are willing to fight and step in and stand beside and walk next to, behind, or in front of those that need it. Do that. This is not a time to fold. I love you guys so much. And if you're still here at the end of the episode, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. This has been a very powerful download. There was a lot of information here. I will probably continue to be channeling a lot more of this stuff moving forward, because I'm a collective channel, or I channel for the collective. This is what's happening very profoundly right now. And so it is what is coming through very profoundly right now. So I just want you to know this content will probably continue moving forward a bit. And like I said, I'm not political, I'm not angry. I'm just sharing what is coming through from my perspective, from the amount of work and research that I have done in my lifetime and everything that I've experienced. And I am so blessed to be able to share this with you all. And so it is my wish that it brings you some peace of mind and some peace in your spirit and soul, to help you continue to take your power back, to step into your sovereignty, to move into place wherever that is, and to allow yourself to go within, to stop looking outwardly at all the stuff happening and tune inward to feel what is true, what is resonant, what is landing for you as what you need to do next. Listening to your intuition, honoring your inner guidance, looking for ways in which you can be an ally, looking for ways in which you can step into a place of power or help someone else step into their power, right? All of our jobs right now are different. But if you're listening to your intuition, if you're honoring that inner guidance, and if you're following it, amazing things are about to happen. And we are going to be part of this history making moment. I love you all so much. I hope everybody a blessed 11/11. And I hope to see you all at my VIP happy hour on Patreon. Again, this is going to be a very beautiful collective energy clearing and happy hour, where I'll be doing more of a channeled message in real time, probably doing a card reading, and we'll see if anything else wants to come through. Probably some light language activation, which is always beautiful and fun and very visceral. Like, you can very much feel the activation happening in your cellular DNA. So if you'd like to be a part of that, please go sign up on my Patreon. And if you would like to explore more about the Sacred Feminine 4-month journey, please hop over to my website and check that out. It's just at the top, the Sacred Feminine. Click on that and you can read through the sales page and understand what this 4-month journey is all about. And if you're feeling that soul call, and you know, like I said, I have about 4 different what do you call it, payment plans on there. So just pick which one works for you. But if you need to DM me if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to do that. Always happy to answer your questions, and I look forward to working with you all in the near future. I love you so much, and just know I am with you. My heart is with you. I feel each and every one of you and the heaviness in this time, but just know we are about to make some real history here. Thank you so much for tuning into the Sacred Path podcast. It is always an honor and a pleasure to share the wisdom, knowledge, and insight that I have learned on my journey and that others have learned on theirs. So please tune in, share, like, and follow, give us a review, and if you would like to work with me in any capacity, please follow the link to my website and either choose a sacred offering on the website or send me a DM. Love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful day.